Okay, just a quick summary of what was going on with this engine. We installed this new Daytona carburetor, and we installed this because we like brand new carburetors as opposed to 60-year-old rebuilt ones. We just needed a different type of carburetor besides the old ones that are just, well, they're kind of reaching the end of their useful life. Anyway, the problem was that when the vehicle would sit after running, it would have a problem restarting. I call that a hot restart. And it would smell like there was a big old fuel leak. And what was happening is the intake manifold was filling up with liquid fuel if it sat for quite a while. This would make it very difficult to restart it. What you'd have to do is hold your foot to the floor and hit the key until you got like 5 or 6 seconds on the key, and then release the key so that you could let the starter rest. You have to do that 4 or 5 times sometimes. It's just an unacceptable restart process. So we went with this fuel pressure regulator to try to drop the pressure on that fuel line, because the residual pressure inside there was causing it to leak past the needle and seat. Why it's doing that with this newer carburetor and wasn't doing it with the older carburetors, I don't know. Could be a design fault. Regardless, we installed this fuel pressure regulator and this fuel pressure gauge, and that's when we were confirming that there was a lot of pressure on this. We cranked this down, and we even tried a couple of other things like putting a brick or a block of wood on that throttle to hold that throttle all the way open while we're away from it and it's off, the engine's off, so that throttle would be open and it would kind of breathe a little bit, and hopefully some of those vapors would evaporate and not go back down into the intake manifold. Regardless, that's been a big point of work, and so here's a few things that we found out about these pressure regulators and some of the other things that happen along the way. Okay, here we are with the 65 Dream. We are continuing to deal with this whole fuel pressure issue, which is what I think it is, and we want to keep doing that because we like these vans, and we want to keep on vanning, right? So here's what we got. Just came in the mail is 2 different Summit pressure gauges. One is 1 to 4 psi, and the other one is, well, they don't say, but I believe it was like 5 to 9. And so they've got them conveniently color coded. The black is a lower one, lower pressure one, and believe it or not, they actually have instructions. So that's also nice compared to these other 2, which came and had no instructions at all. This is a real popular one. Excuse my Band-Aids. I ran out of regular adult Band-Aids, so I'm using the kid Band-Aids. Anyway, this one I had on there. It didn't seem to do anything but cause a no start after I'd been running it for a while. I mean, it's got some numbers on there, but I don't know what they mean. So I figured that by cranking it down clockwise, it would reduce the pressure. I don't know. This other one I haven't tried yet. Both of these came off eBay, and they had a lot of fittings. The ones that I didn't use, I just put all together. And they gave me a couple of short pieces of hose to connect, and they look like they're pretty beefy, so that's all right. But this one, I don't know. I haven't used that kind before. It had a handy little Allen wrench in there, but you stick it in the place that you think, and it doesn't catch on anything, it doesn't do anything. I haven't looked around behind any of these other ones to see if there's an adjustment on it. And the pictures I saw of this installed, that thing was open, so I don't know. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to work with those. I'm going to work with this one here, because this is what I think is my best hope of getting this dialed in. So 1 to 4 psi, I'll crank it up to like 4, which I'm imagining it's that adjustment on the top. I don't know where it's at right now, but I am going to check it with the gauge that I also got from Summit. Look at that. Okay, that's the right range. 0 to 15 psi. Thank you very much. not like the gauge that I did have with the eBay orders, which was 0 to 8. Now, being the SAE kind of guy that I am, I figured, well, that must mean PSI. But if you look real close, it's not. Let me get this focus here. Kilograms per centimeter squared. Well, you might as well put it in hieroglyphics as far as I'm concerned. I thought that thing was not working at all until I put some air pressure to it and started getting it to move. But it's definitely in a much higher range than anything that I need on this. My sense is that it will settle down, this whole issue will settle down at around, I don't know, 2 to 3 PSI. And the only reason I say that is because I have heard that people running Weber carburetors were getting instructions that they should dump the pressure down to a couple PSI, otherwise it doesn't really work real well. So anyway, we're gonna rig this up with these fittings. Hopefully we have enough. And then hook up a bunch of rubber lines and install it and see how it works. By the way, the Summit stuff, they included a little package of nuts and bolts, thank you very much, and a bracket, thank you very much, but no hoses, no fittings, none of that good stuff. So once again, it might be a trip to the hardware store. So anyway, I'm trying not to let this whole thing overpressure me. Right? Okay, van has been sitting for maybe an hour, so it's not really a hot restart, but it is a restart. So we are going to take that block of wood off of the throttle that's been holding it down, and we're going to go ahead and try to get our foot in there to hold it down. Dang it. So okay, so it wasn't all the way down, but so we're holding it all the way down, and we're gonna put the key, which dang it, we left it inside. Dang it. Okay, we've been sitting for about an hour, so it's not really, you know, fully warm. It's been cooling off, but I have had this block of wood holding the throttle down because I didn't have anything else ready to go. And I'm gonna hold my foot down, get that block of wood off of there, and then hit the key, see if it starts up any better. Turn off the fan, which is a little bit noisy. Work on that later, Frank. Not bad, but you know, the engine is not really that warm. I'm going to keep trying this with that block of wood holding it down. It doesn't hold it down all the way, so it's not exactly the right length, and I'll have to work on that. You can see it's cooled down below 100. So anyway, off to the hardware store we go for fittings for that fuel pressure regulator. Okay, we installed the pressure regulator and the pressure gauge without any kind of an adjustment. This thing was reading above 5, give or take, and I cranked this thing in no less than 6 turns, and now you're struggling to have enough bite on there to, let me see if I can focus this, to even keep it tight. This is supposed to be able to go down quite a bit more, but we're going to leave it where it is. It's like a little over 3, and a little over 3, 3.5, 3 3/4, something like that. Well, we'll see. Anyway, I wish it would go down below 2. That's where I wanted to have my starting point, but this is good enough. We're going to test drive it see if it makes any difference. We're not going to have anything going on with holding the throttle down while we're parked or anything else like that. We're just going to drive around and see what gives. Okay, still raining back at the storage unit. I've got to have some way to test these hot starts. So take a run to the storage unit, drop off some more stuff, and what we are reading now is pretty much 0. Okay, so what I did was I cranked the thumb out of the way, and I cranked this adjustment back out, and it's like 2 turns from the original position that it came in the box with, and that was getting me about 2 psi, which is what I really wanted. And when it sat for just a little while the last time, I came back and there was still some pressure on it. Matter of fact, it had gone up to like about 5 psi. And now, after it's sitting for maybe a little bit longer, it's at 0 psi. And what I believe that is that it's still leaking past the needle and seat. Either that or the pressure just doesn't hold when it's off. So anyway, what we're going to do is start it up. Let me find the keys. Hang on. Okay. So we're not going to put our foot to the floor. We're just going to basically hit the key and see what happens. So turn off the fan again. Yeah. Foot to the floor. So what that tells me is that there's still fuel leaking into that carburetor. When there was like 6 psi during that last startup, it fired right up. Didn't have to do anything. This time there was 0 psi and I had to crank it a little bit. Not as bad as normal. When this thing didn't have that pressure regulator on there, there was like 4 separate times when I had to crank it. And what I mean is crank it and then let it rest 4 times like that, which is just totally unacceptable. So anyway, it's getting better. I am going to see if I can crank down that pressure a little bit more. And once I've got that thing cranked down to maybe 1 psi, then I will take it on the freeway and see if it's starving for fuel. Hopefully that pressure regulator will reduce the pressure and not the volume. So anyway, that's my story. All right, so it's about 6:30, give or take, and this is the school parking lot of the local high school. And thank goodness that it's not raining anymore, and that they still have the lights on. You know, it looks like they have the stadium lights on as well, because we are stuck in the parking lot. We started having some issues with it, like being very jerky, and it was very intermittent, but it was, I got stuck earlier today, and I'm stuck now. So did some diagnosis. I thought it was the fuel pressure regulator, pulled that out. Thought it was the fuel filter, pushed through that. Thought it might be the fuel pump. that is working fine. I got a long hose and I just fired it up and it's just dumping fuel. So the fuel pump's fine. I checked the filters at the back of the carburetor, at the back of the gas tank, which I have one there, and that was no problem. So if there's fuel getting to that carburetor and it's dying and starving from fuel, and I determined that by hitting it with some quick start while it was jerking around. The only thing to do is disassemble the carburetor and figure out what's going on in the parking lot. And here's what we found. That is the fuel inlet, and it's not going to let anything in with that piece of plastic or whatever in the heck that is. So that's the way I found it. I'm going to pull that thing out and hang on to it and then put this carburetor back together before it starts raining, which it seems like there's a few drops here, and hopefully we can get back on the road. This is why we do test drives, so that the people don't get stuck. I do. Okay, we're back together. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the high school for leaving the lights on. And if you are going to get stuck in a parking lot like this, then it's best to have the van positioned so that the light is shining through and shining on the carburetor. Bring spare batteries. My flashlight was pooping out and I had to use my phone, but anyway, I don't know where that piece of black plastic came from. It got past that filter, or it was installed by me when I put that pressure regulator, that pressure gauge on there. I don't know. Excuse me. Unfortunately, that small piece of plastic blew away. I didn't have a piece of tape or anything I could stick it to try to preserve it and be able to look at it real closely later. Anyway, we're gonna drive around the parking lot and see how it goes. If it goes, then